I'm Mark Schneider and you're watching Schneider Classics, and today I have an idea on how to get this flywheel off of the 493cc Hirth motor. My idea is pretty simple. So the main nut's been already taken out. Ooh, that's actually... there, that'll work that way. The main nut's been taken out that holds it, and that's why this is taken off. So I just put it back on. The catch for it, I'm putting a long socket on the rim. Like, I can't do the socket side to it, I have to do the flat side to it. So it sits on the main bearing and it doesn't just counter itself. And have my little pulley puller right here, because that was the problem. The Hirth flywheel has a problem where you can't pull on the flywheel because you can't turn in there because it's the weird magnet plate. So, and I'm guessing with these other holes, because each one of these flywheels that I have sitting here, each have another bolt pattern. So either there was a different way, this, like a different attachment here that went on the front or something. I don't know. I have no idea. Or it had some type of special remover plate. I don't have that. So we just got to do with what we got. And there we go. Flywheel just popped. Whew. That was sketching me out because I'm holding it in place. I'm holding the tension. Nope, don't slide back in place. Pretty fucking strong magnets. Whoa. This little keeper right there. This to go in the correct spot. Well, and that's how we got her off. Really, she ain't worn out at all. Oh, scared the bejeebus of me when that thing popped off. So this stuff's probably the last of that stuff holding that crankcase in. I had that was in here. So this system is actually really cool. So it uses the magneto-driven coil and then flips these points.
Okay.
To drive.
Does it work or is it broken?
It works. It's neat how it drives around and flicks just off of the back of the flywheel here.
Yeah.
And flicks it, then drives it to the coil, and the coil lights.
Okay.
So it's not, instead of where modern sleds have just a normal magneto system and then it drives that to a splitter and the splitter divides it into the two coils.
That's almost like a generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost driven exactly like a generator. So the wires are fine on the bottom there. Wires up here we have to play with. That's especially, so I found our culprit. So we found our culprit. You can see it's been rubbing out and it's actually corroded the wire. So I have to get in here somehow. Look, it's right there attached to the coil, which then goes to this. Very cool how this is all integrated. The wire's fine there. I'm gonna goof it out a bit, but I think I'm gonna have to put in a splice right there. So now this has become like a surgery. So this has been the root of all of our problems with us trying to get this engine to run, and why we were like, every single thing, even the ground, has power when it was running, and we're like, how the hell does the ground have power coming through it? But it was sort of running, because this bad boy was causing problems. So this is now going to be like a surgery. I'm going to have to make a cut and a cut, then solder the wire back together, because you can see with it rubbing and stuff, it's corroded in there. There's a little bit of, come on camera, focus. Okay, there's a little bit of corrosion in there, so I got to cut that back out, solder it together. Then I'm going to put some liquid electrical tape on it, and then put some shrink wrap over it. But that's been our problem. And I'm going to try and make sure when I bolt this hole back up, I'm going to pull these wires tight so they're not in the flywheel diameter here. And there's the seal, and I'm deciding, because these seals, they're actually brand new, I'm going to leave them as is. I'm not going to pull the crankcase apart because that looks pretty new. And I can see in here the crank looks fine. I can't show it on camera, but that's going to become my surgery now. Now with that soldered, see, nice strong solder connection. We're going to put some liquid electrical tape on it for waterproofing, and then slide this over, the heat shrink over, to stop it from chafing. Make sure it's fully covered. We gotta let this dry for 10 minutes, and then I may come back over, pull the heat shrink over, warm it up, melt it, and then we'll be done. So now we got that back in place. You can see that wire, where it was rubbing, just over time, it's the only wire that's pretty loose. Just moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That little guy. Rubbing through that wire. So now it's back, safely put on. This is all back in. Before I cover this up, I'm going to throw some liquid electrical tape on all these solder points, just to give a little bit more reinforcement for their connections. I like using liquid electrical tape. What it really does, it doesn't prevent against rubbing or anything. That's why I also put, I don't know if you saw, I put some shrink wrap over it to help prevent the soldering. But for now, for connections and stuff, liquid electrical tape, like what I typically do is I join the two together, I solder them so they're soldered together. It's a good bond. Like I'll do a mechanical connection, I'll do like two little hooks, hook them together, solder them together so they're actually connected. Then do some liquid electrical tape on there, get that all done nice, because it just dives deep into whatever's not connected, and it waterproofs it, because with shrink wrap and stuff, even if you do it correctly and stuff, there is still technically a gap in there, but then you do that over top, just extra protection. Keeps all your connections as, yes, it's overkill, but you'll never have a problem with your connections. And it's just called just a little bit of work, a little bit of effort, just makes everything super strong. Now, what liquid electrical tape is good for is it's just pretty much a rubber compound. The only reason I'm doing this is I'm doing a little bit of extra precaution stuff, so there's no way this stuff can short out to a neighboring wire, or it's the casing or whatever else. It's just going over it with just a dab of extra rubber coating. especially those neighboring wires. I don't want them to touch. Now, if you're really mean, you could also do that. Like, you could open up these points, put a little bit there, and screw up someone's whole day. Don't do that. You didn't hear that from me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this Hirth motor actually really interests me, and I think it's super cool of a motor because you can see here with the two copper windings here, that stuff dried pretty quick because it's just a quick coat. Super cool to see the two windings. So it has two electric pulses which then go back and forth, and there are points in this that click that cause the intermittent spark. And I think that's extremely cool because I've never seen a connection like that before in my life, where it just has intermittent pulses. As you can see, that's caused by this type of crank here. Really cool to see. I've never seen a design set up like this. So it's technically, it's not one magneto, it's two magnetos in one circuit. And why it has the four magnets, so this is all your timing. Each one of these is your timing, and there is slots. I put it back like pretty much where it was. So these slots are your timing. So you can adjust this, and that's your timing adjustment, is these magnetos. It's really cool, really neat. I think it's super interesting. Neat to have a look into it and see it all. Now the thing with this, if this doesn't work, I can always undo all of this and pull the ignition timing from the other one. I don't want to do that, that's a lot of work. At the end of the day, if I had to do that with the other one, I might just steal, because the lower blocks are the same, I might just pull each lower block. But this should theoretically work now. This little spacer goes here. As you can see, that all goes here. So now that we have this back on, I should tighten this nut a little bit more. But if you look closely, I have this hooked up to the spark plug and then just grounded it to the block. You should see spark. Make sure you can see this. Just by this. I just put these on quickly without the piston rings, just to... So we have spark back on this. You can see that's coming from the spark wire. If we hook it up to the other one here, just quickly hook it up here. We got spark again. Awesome. Now, for some reason, that spark coming out of that coil is not as strong as the other one, but that's fine. We have gone through the electrical system of this and added, as you can see here, a flywheel. If anybody knows where I can get a starter for a Hirth snowmobile motor, a 1972, it's from a 1972 Snow Prince 493cc Hirth motor. If anyone knows where I can get a starter, if anyone has a starter, let me know, because I will buy it, because I want a starter for this thing. I want this thing to be easier for my father to use. But I am so glad we have spark on it now. That's been half the battle. So we got spark back on both spark plugs. Now I just have to go through putting the entire motor back. Put the coil on, the heat shield, all the gaskets, everything. That motor's need to be done. So if you want to follow along for more of this rebuild on this old Hirth motor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button and stuff, and an hour a day will keep the rest at bay. More than an hour a day and you'll be on your way. She'll be puttering in no time, that's for sure. And man, oh man, I can't wait. Oh, that makes me happy. She's going to be a runner. Just rebuilding her in my wet basement. See you guys next time.